Ever feel like the world's changing crazy fast? Like faster than you can download the latest software?
Yeah, it can feel like that sometimes.
Between AI, automation, and all the talk about the future of work, it's uh it's a lot to keep up with.
I know what you mean.
That's why I wanted to do this deep dive into the documentary The Future of Work: How Jobs Will Change in the Future.
Sounds interesting.
Right. And kind of scary, to be honest. But instead of panicking, I thought, why not bring you along and like figure it out together?
Exactly. Understanding what's coming is, I think, more important now than ever.
So the documentary basically lays it out there. Nearly half of all jobs, gone by 2035, poof, automated.
Wow. That's a pretty big number.
It is, right? It paints these kind of wild pictures, robots on factory floors, AI chatbots like running customer service.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Did anything in particular stand out to you?
So many things, honestly. But seeing the whole AI and legal research thing, that was kind of mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. The way those systems can analyze mountains of legal documents. It's remarkable how efficient they are.
Right. Like instead of replacing lawyers entirely, it's more like AI is giving them superpowers or something.
Yeah, it's a tool, really, a powerful one.
Totally. And the documentary interviews this AI researcher, Dr. Sophia Chen. She's super optimistic.
About,
Well, she basically argues that this whole automation thing, it actually frees us up to do the stuff AI can't, the more creative human stuff.
and I think there's some truth to that. Right now, AI is great at tasks that involve data analysis, spotting patterns, but nuanced decision making, emotional intelligence, those are still very human strengths.
So it's not really robots taking over, but more like our jobs are gonna, I don't know, evolve.
Exactly, like adapt along with the technology.
It makes you think, though, what skills are we gonna need to make it in this new world? Like in your own work, how do you see this impacting things?
Honestly, that's a question we should all be asking ourselves. The documentary really emphasizes digital literacy.
Beyond just like knowing how to use social media, right?
Right. It's about really understanding the technologies that are driving all this change.
Mm.
AI, blockchain, even coding.
Even if you're not gonna become a programmer.
Even then, having that basic understanding is, well, it's almost like learning a new language. It opens up new possibilities, new ways of thinking.
Okay, I can see that. And then there's the whole remote work explosion. The documentary shows people working from beaches, having meetings in virtual reality. It's pretty wild.
It is. The pandemic definitely accelerated that trend, and I think a lot of people really value that flexibility now, that freedom.
But it's not all sunshine and roses, is it?
Well, there are definitely some potential downsides. It can be harder to maintain work-life balance when your office is, in your living room. And job security can be a concern too.
Right. And then they dropped the stat: over 50% of the workforce, freelancers by 2030.
Really? It's huge.
It is, right? So how do we ensure fair wages, benefits, even a sense of community in a world where traditional jobs are kind of fading away?
That's the big challenge, isn't it? It's a whole new way of thinking about work.
It's a lot to process. But hey, let's talk about the fun stuff for a minute. Remember those futuristic jobs they mentioned?
Oh, yeah. The space tour guide, the vertical farm engineer. Some of them sounded like something out of a movie.
Right, it was mind-blowing. But their point was these jobs might not be so far-fetched after all. Like, they're actually based on trends we're seeing right now.
It's fascinating how many of these future jobs combine different areas of expertise. Like a space tour guide would need astronomy, hospitality skills, even some medical training.
The one that really caught my eye was personal data broker. Like
Yeah.
helping people manage and actually make money from their data. I think that's going to be huge. What about you? Which one were you like, okay, sign me up?
Honestly, the one that really resonated with me was AI ethics consultant. As AI gets more and more powerful, we need people who can ensure it's used responsibly, ethically.
That's a really good point. The documentary touches on some of the ethical questions around all this, but I kind of wish they had gone deeper. Because it's one thing to imagine cool new jobs, but it's another to think about like the impact on society as a whole?
You're right. And that's where things get really interesting
Yeah.
and potentially challenging.
Totally. It's not just about finding a job in the future, it's about figuring out what the future of work even means for all of us.
It's about understanding the bigger picture and our place in it.
Welcome back. So we've been talking robots, AI, all that futuristic stuff.
Right. It's a lot to digest.
It is. And I think the documentary really starts to dig deeper in this part. Like, it's not just about the technology itself, it's about what it means for us, for society, the human side of things.
Absolutely. It raises some big questions about the kind of world we're creating and what role technology plays in all of that.
Exactly. And they bring up this concept, universal basic income. I mean, have you heard about this?
Yeah, it's been getting a lot of attention lately.
For good reason. The documentary frames it as a possible solution, like if automation takes over a lot of jobs.
Right. The idea being that if machines are doing most of the work, everyone still needs a way to make a living.
Exactly. But it's not a simple solution, is it? Like, how would it even work? Who pays for it? Does it discourage people from working at all?
Yeah, there are a lot of potential pitfalls, and I think the documentary does a good job of acknowledging that. It's not presented as a silver bullet.
Right. It's more about like getting us to think about these big questions, like what is the purpose of work? If it's not just about earning money, then what is it about?
That's a great question. It makes you rethink our whole definition of work, and maybe our definition of a good life, too, if traditional jobs become less common.
Right. Like, is it about contributing something, feeling a sense of purpose? It's complicated.
Definitely. And the documentary also doesn't shy away from the potential downsides of this tech-driven future.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, one of the things they focus on is inequality. Like, if all the benefits of AI and automation only go to a small group of people, the wealth gap just gets wider.
And that's already a problem now. It's scary to think it could get even worse.
Yeah, it's a valid concern. It's not just about the cool technology. It's about making sure those benefits are shared.
They even touch on the psychological effects, right? Like, with all this focus on automation and efficiency, do we risk losing something like human connection?
There were interviews with some psychologists who were concerned about dehumanizing work. You know, if we reduce everything to algorithms and data, do we lose sight of what makes us human? Our creativity, our empathy?
It makes you think, right? It's almost like, okay, we have all this amazing technology, but now we need to figure out how to use it in a way that's, I don't know, good for everyone.
I think that's the key takeaway here. It's not about letting technology dictate the future, but using it to create a future that we actually want to live in, a future that benefits everyone.
It's almost like a call to action. Like, we have a choice to make. We can just sit back and let things happen. Or we can take control and actively shape that future.
I think it's empowering to think about it that way.
Yeah.
We're not just passengers. We have a say in this.
Totally. So what are they suggesting we actually do to, like, steer things in the right direction?
Well, the documentary emphasizes education, which is not surprising.
But they don't just mean, like, going to college.
No, it's more about this idea of lifelong learning, like being willing to adapt, to learn new skills throughout your life.
Because the skills you need today might be totally obsolete tomorrow.
Right. So it's about being flexible, constantly learning, and adapting to those changes. And the documentary talks about the role of governments and businesses in supporting this. You know, investing in retraining programs, apprenticeships, things like that.
So it's about creating this environment where people have the opportunity to upskill and reinvent themselves.
Exactly. They also talk about the ethical side of all this, like the need for regulations to protect workers, to ensure data privacy.
So we're not just blindly developing technology without thinking about the consequences.
Exactly. We need to consider the long-term impact and make sure it's being used in a way that's sustainable and beneficial for everyone.
It's like, yes, we can do this, but should we do this? It's a bigger conversation.
And that's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about technology. It's about values and ethics and the kind of society we want to create.
What's really hitting home for you? Like, what are you taking away from this?
For me, it's that sense of interconnectedness. Like, the future of work isn't just some abstract concept. It's about people, communities, our values, and it's all connected.
I love that. It's a good reminder that we're all in this together, and the choices we make today, they have a real impact, like a ripple effect, not just for us, but for future generations.
Absolutely. And that leads to another important point that the documentary brings up. It's not just about waiting for someone else to fix things. It's about individual agency, empowering people to take control of their own careers and skills and contribute to creating the future they want to see.
So it's not about being passive, it's about being proactive. What are some things people can actually do to prepare for this future, like to actually take action? All right, so we've covered a lot of ground, right? From AI taking over legal research to the possibility of like everyone getting a universal basic income.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is. But now I kind of want to shift gears a bit and talk about like what can we actually do about all this? You know, what steps can people take to prepare for this future of work?
I think that's where the rubber meets the road. The documentary offers some pretty practical advice.
Okay, good, because I'm all about action steps. Like less mind blown, more, okay, what now?
Right. Well, first and foremost, they emphasize the importance of, you guessed it, education.
Oh, here we go again. Back to school.
Well, not exactly. It's more about this idea of lifelong learning, like always be learning, right?
Because the skills you have today might be totally useless tomorrow.
Exactly. The world's changing too fast
Yeah.
to just rely on what you learned in school. So, being willing to adapt, to learn new things throughout your career, it's crucial.
Okay, I get it. But how do you even keep up with all the new stuff? It can be overwhelming.
Totally. But one thing the documentary highlights is all the amazing online learning platforms out there.
Oh, yeah, like Coursera, Skillshare.
Exactly. You can find courses on pretty much anything. Data science, coding, even like pottery or photography.
So it's not just about like hardcore tech still.
Nope. It's about expanding your horizons, exploring new interests, and staying curious.
I like that. Stay curious. And it doesn't even have to be formal courses, right?
Right. Mentorship, networking, even just reading articles or books on topics that interest you. All counts.
So like be a student of life. So what else did the documentary suggest?
Well, they also talk about the importance of building a strong online presence.
Oh yeah, your digital footprint and all that.
Exactly. Think of it like your professional storefront. It's the first impression you make, whether it's LinkedIn, a personal website, or a portfolio of your work.
Makes sense. Like showing off your skills to the world.
Right. It's a way to control your narrative, highlight your accomplishments, and connect with potential employers, collaborators, even clients.
So it's not just about having the skills, it's about letting people know you have them.
Exactly. And social media can be a powerful tool for that too. It's a way to network, share ideas, and build relationships with people in your field.
It's not just about posting selfies, right?
Haha, no. It's about engaging in meaningful conversations, learning from others, and building a community.
Okay, that makes sense. So, lifelong learning, online presence, anything else?
The documentary also stressed the importance of adaptability.
Oh yeah, because the only constant is change, right?
Exactly. They use this analogy of a surfer riding a wave. You can't control the waves, but you can learn to ride them.
So, being flexible, rolling with the punches.
Exactly. And that kind of ties into resilience too, because setbacks are going to happen. It's
No.
inevitable.
Yeah, you're going to wipe out on that wave sometime.
Exactly. But it's about how you get back up. Developing a growth mindset, the belief that you can learn and improve even from failures.
So, it's not about avoiding failure, it's about learning from it.
Exactly. And using those experiences to become stronger, more adaptable.
I'm really digging this. Okay, so after this deep dive, I'm feeling a lot more, I don't know, optimistic about the future. What about you? What's really sticking with you?
For me, it's that emphasis on agency. Like, we're not just passive bystanders in all of this. We have a choice. We can shape the future of work.
We're not just along for the ride, we're in the driver's seat.
Exactly. And I love that the documentary ends on this empowering note, this quote, "The best way to predict the future is to create it."
So good. It's like stop worrying, start doing, take action.
Right. And that's what I hope people take away from this. It's not about being afraid of the future. It's about being excited about the possibilities.
I love that. Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a lot more prepared, a lot less freaked out.
Me too. It's been a great conversation.
And to everyone listening, remember, the future is what we make it. So get out there, keep learning, keep connecting, and keep creating the future you want to see.